everyone, Christina here for Talyor TV for another edition of the Poker Buzz. Today we're going to talk about the revolutionary brand new cash game format on Full Tilt called Rush Poker. We've got Full Tilt Red Pro and Card Runner's lead instructor Talyor Caby on the phone to talk about it. Hi Taylor, how are you?
I'm doing well, Christy. How are you?
I'm also doing well, thank you for asking. Now, we wanted to talk about Rush Poker, and I logged on to Full Tilt yesterday, and I saw your name in red playing it. So, for those who don't know, can you explain exactly what Rush Poker is?
Yeah, I mean, basically it's sort of a new concept that when it basically combines a pool of players who are playing at a cash game environment, and it randomizes them playing at different tables. And the cool thing is that when you fold your hand, it instantly puts you at another table with other players that have just recently folded their hands, and you are instantly dealt a new hand. So basically there's really no waiting between when you fold your hand and when you play the next one, and there's also kind of the neat effect of just having new players constantly shuffled into your table, kind of like it would be if your table broke at a multi-table tournament. And then the final thing that's sort of neat is they have a quick fold button that even if you're out of position or not last or nearly last to act, you can quick fold and instantly go to your next table and not even wait for the action to get to you.
Right, as if it wasn't fast enough. There's also a quick fold button.
Yeah, the quick fold is definitely like the most addicting part, because you can just you don't like your hand, all right, fine, you're at another table and maybe you like that hand.
So if you're playing one stake and you're in one pool of players, is there also an option for you to have more than one seat?
Yeah, you can sit in up to 4 different tables at a time. Now, obviously, you're never going to be put at the same table as yourself, right. But each player could conceivably be playing 4 different Rush Poker tables at once, which, I mean, at each table is getting you roughly, I think it's like 250 hands per hour. So you could probably play upwards of 1,000 hands an hour at 4 tables. Although I'm not quite sure how that would be for your head if you're playing that long. But yeah.
So what was your impression of it when you first tried Rush Poker?
I thought it was cool. I mean, it was like, when I've played some of the super turbos at Full Tilt where the action's really fast and furious, but it's a sit and go with a shallow structure, so you don't have a whole lot of room for maneuvering, and you can't really build a huge stack and all that type of stuff. But in these games, it's kind of the same environment in a cash game, and you can play if you're playing for a half hour, you're going to build up some stacks, and it's cool because you see a lot of guys that have built up stacks, and you're playing sort of like deep stacked big bet poker, but you get the nice elements of like a super turbo or a turbo sit and go. Right.
Well, of course, with you as a Card Runner's Pro, I've got to ask, what do you think is sort of the optimal strategy here? Have you found things that work a bit better for this type of poker?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say exactly. There are a few interesting things, though. The first being that nobody else really knows how you're playing because you're constantly shuffled into a new group of players. So for me, it's kind of hard to get away with a whole lot of stuff because as a Red Pro, players tend to, kind of keep an eye on what you're doing, and for me especially, with a lot of the videos that I've made of, playing aggressive poker and bluffing and stuff, people don't give me a whole lot of credit. But I think a lot of players could very, very easily exploit the fact that no one knows that they're maybe 3-betting a ton late in position, or that they're 3-betting button openers a lot. And also I think that opening in late position against people that don't know you've been opening a ton in late position seems like it would work a lot. Now the caveat would be that people are going to figure out that you're doing this eventually, and it's going to eventually be understood that this is a proper strategy. So you kind of have to be careful. I would say it's probably best to play a hybrid strategy of, a lot of times you're opening really, really loose late, but then maybe some other sessions you start to play a little bit more straightforward because you don't want to always be playing the same way.
Right. Now, with the Rush Poker, and you can, you look down at a hand like 8-3 off, and you can just quick fold. People seem to want to wait for the big hands, ace, king, big pairs. So, in a sense, is it kind of like a cooler machine, just people waiting for these big hands to try and get it in with?
Well, for some people it might be, and I don't think those people are going to win.
Right.
Or if they do, they're not going to win much because, the coolers happen both ways, like everybody knows. And if you're just waiting for coolers, the only way you're going to make money is against fish, and you better hope there's enough fish involved to make up for the rig. Now, I would say that if everybody else is waiting for the big hands, then I'll be happy to be the guy that's collecting all the blinds in between then. So I think a lot of people say that, but I don't think in practice it will actually be the case.
Okay. Well, if you seem to see players only opening like really big hands, especially from early position, then is it a good idea to always be calling those raises with like suited connectors because they're likely to have one of those big pairs or a big hand?
Well, yes and no. Typically, I would say no almost. If you know a guy's got a big hand and you're playing 100 big blind or less poker, you're better off just folding and moving on.
Right.
However, the interesting thing about these tables is I see a lot of guys, a lot more than usual, that have built up stacks that are like 500 big blinds deep or 400 big blinds deep. Now, in that case, it's sort of a dream to be playing, a suited connector type hand or a small pair type hand against a player that overvalues, his ace king or big pair. So against guys like that, and that again you have to sort of make reads, and people say, oh well, you can't make reads because you're constantly switching tables. Well, after playing a half an hour, you've played with a lot of the same guys, so you can make reads, and you got to focus more than you actually had to before with the normal cash game tables. So I guess what I'm saying is it sort of depends how you want to play those types of hands, but I definitely see merit in playing them with deep stacked.
All right. Well, thank you so much for those strategy tips. Now, what do you think the future of Rush Poker is? Do you think they're going to increase the stakes that they offer? And do you think this is going to take off as a big thing on Full Tilt?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of already a big thing. Like, the stakes are only up to 100 no limit, and just in playing for a couple hours, I've noticed a lot of guys that I see playing the higher stakes games, guys that I've played 25, 50 no limit against, playing 100 no limit just for fun. I mean, that sort of tells me a lot that at the very least people think it's fun. And if people think it's fun, they're going to play it, and if it's fun, fish are going to come too. So I think that really makes me think that it's kind of here to stay. Whether or not they're going to be putting it at the higher stakes games, I don't quite know. I think they're considering it for sure. I'm anxious to see it move to Omaha, and I know there's some small stakes Omaha now. And then, I don't know, maybe they'll even be heads up or multi-table tournaments, or I really don't know. But I definitely think that it's here to stay.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your insight. The idea is revolutionary, and there's nothing else like it. And I've been seeing a lot of positive response from all types of players. So I really appreciate you talking with us today. Thank you, Talyor.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Christy.